some girl, she pretended to be pregnant, and then she said the baby
died.
As in, she bought a baby bump, stuck it on her stomach, told her man, her family, and everyone she knows, and Facebook that she's pregnant. Her grandmother and her mother then paid £1,000 to buy her a baby pram for a baby that doesn't exist.
Can you actually fake pregnancy with a baby doll?
We're actually of a Reborn doll, a lifelike silicone baby you can buy online.
Well, this 22-year-old Scottish lady, Ciara Cousins, successfully experimented this with her daughter/doll, Bonnie Lee.
Complications and even heart problems with the unborn child. But when her due date came, something didn't add up.
She wore a fake baby bump, staged a birth, and passed off a doll as her newborn. Families and friends watched her journey unfold on Facebook and Snapchat. She had baby bumps in every video and picture frame. They bought her gifts, baby prams worth over $1,000, a cash present of £500 in solidarity.
Text messages for your auntie that lives in Wales saying I sent £500 up because I couldn't make the gender reveal.
And they even threw her a lavish baby shower. However, in reality, it was all fake. Ciara simply searched for a Reborn doll on an online store and paid a hefty amount for the sake of her scheme. But to make it look real, Ciara carefully covered her lies. She wrapped the baby tightly with blankets and always covered the hands with mittens. Now you might wonder, why didn't her boyfriend or family realize it was all fake? Because the ugly truth was just a few steps away. Well, Ciara didn't allow anyone to hold or even touch the baby. And her friends or family thought she was just being an overprotective new mom.
Like, you don't know how she was acting. Like, we just thought she was being an overprotective.
But behind the preparations for the baby girl, Ciara Cousins was a deceitful mastermind. When her boyfriend started having his suspicions, Ciara manipulated him. She discouraged him from following her to the doctor's appointment.
From the start, things were a little bit odd. She would say that Jamie could not attend her appointments and just was never allowed to be super close to.
The poor boyfriend wasn't even allowed a DNA test because Ciara claimed the baby had mucus.
And she only said the baby has mucus because Jamie wanted a DNA test, and you can't take a DNA test if the baby's got mucus.
Now, it's a lot to unpack, but this video will show you how to successfully experiment fake birth in real life. This isn't like Tyler Perry's 2025 film Straw, where a mother's perception of reality changes because of her child. It's an actual case of a woman who deceived her community and well-wishers online for no just reason.
I just can't believe it. And I already feel like such a fool, like, for no realising that a real life doll, like, she must have paid like close to £1,000 for it.
And when the internet gave her a chance to explain herself, she didn't respond.
And she agreed to come in the live at 9 o'clock tonight and tell.
But why did she lie? Was it to cover up a miscarriage? Was there even a pregnancy to begin with? And how did an expensive silicone doll help Ciara maintain such an elaborate scheme?
And for the people that are going to say, like, I think she needs help. No, she doesn't. She needs jail. She needs, like, something bad to happen.
Grab your popcorn because we're about to dive deep into one of the most twisted and emotionally disturbing stories to come out of social media. Now, while Ciara Cousins is the main character of this awful story, she's not the key player here. The reason why we know everything about this grand sham is thanks to someone else entirely, her mutual friend named Neve McRoberts. Due to Neve's narration on her TikTok page, the internet got to know about this insane story. According to Neve, Ciara had spread news of her pregnancy about 9 months ago.
8-9 months ago, she texted me telling me that she was pregnant, and I was so happy for her.
It truly was great news. What friend wouldn't be happy in this type of scenario? Neve was excited for Ciara's new journey to motherhood, and Ciara herself was over the moon with love, support, and attention she was receiving. She shared the wonderful news on her Facebook page and other social media platforms where it gained over 5 million views. Everyone was overjoyed. The post read, "Our own little miracle. We all can't wait to meet you." From then on, she dedicated her time and energy to building on this lie. She acquired a prosthetic baby bump, which is a wearable material that simulates the look of pregnancy. These products can be bought online, with prices reaching £700. These fake baby bumps can be used in industries like film, theater, and advertising. But in Kira's case, it was used to beg for attention, to play with people's feelings in a very disturbing fashion. Kira wore this prosthetic like a badge of honor to keep up with her lies. She wore it in daily snapshots on Snapchat, and she also wore it to functions like a friend's wedding. No one suspected that it could be a performance, not her mother, aunt, or cousin. In retrospect, everything seemed normal. This was a 22-year-old woman entering a new phase of life, and there were plenty of reasons to celebrate for the family.
Announces it on Facebook, and everybody is so happy for it.
A few months after the big announcement, Kira hosted a gender reveal party. It was a small gathering of friends and family who were happy for Kira and her boyfriend Jamie. Neve was also at this celebration.
3-4 months go by and she has a gender reveal, and everybody is at the gender reveal, both sides of the family at the gender reveal.
Kira, with a visible baby bump, was the happiest in the room. Her face lit up even more when the couple found out they were about to have a baby girl. Neve explained that in hindsight, Kira must have chosen a girl to please both her and Jamie's mom, since none of them had granddaughters.
Then she makes it a wee girl because Jamie's mum only has 3 grandsons, and her mum doesn't have any granddaughters or any grandsons. Her own mum believed that she was going to be a grand for the first time. She was so happy.
Since Kira was the one with the ultrasound results, she must have framed it to be a baby girl. You may be wondering, how did she get her hands on fake ultrasound results? Well, there are online stores that sell products for fake pregnancy pranks. Through these websites, you can buy pretty much everything, from fake DNA test results, fake pregnancy proof, to fake ultrasound results. Kira must have easily gotten her hands on one of these websites and bought them for her big plan. It was a clever performance, and no one would have suspected a thing. But in the background, the story that would break the internet began to take form. Kira meticulously kept everyone in the loop as she documented the next step of fake pregnancy. She posted videos of her baby bump across Facebook and Snapchat. Then she bought baby clothes and even thought ahead for baby Bonnie Lee's Christmas outfit. Specifically, Kira had all the markings of an expectant young mother. She was preparing to give birth to her baby. She shared photos of her ultrasound on Snapchat, and everyone bought it. This is the first mention of her posting the ultrasound online.
Crazy, because I believed it that much, because she was sending me scanned pictures, she was sending me videos at the hospital. Like, she just made everything seem so...
Finally, on October 10th, Bonnie Lee was born. In the first official photo Kira posted, Bonnie was a little bundle of joy, fully clothed in pink and white cloth. She broke the news to everyone, including her closest friend Neve.
And I've got a text message for Kira saying, "Hi, it's Bonnie Lee. I was born at 2:46 a.m. I weigh 5 pounds 4 ounces, the exact same weight as my daddy when he was born."
As expected, Neve was super excited to welcome the newest member of this small family.
And I sent her a video, and I'm like, oh my god, like, congratulations, she's so...
But no one would have thought that there was something strange about the photo Kira uploaded on her social media page. Everyone had been too excited to notice anything. Yet the cracks had always been there. It had started when Jamie, the supposed father of the child, wasn't present at childbirth. Scratch that, he had never been allowed to accompany Kira to any doctor's appointments through the entire pregnancy. Can you imagine that? Not to mention, Jamie had initially pressured her to get an abortion after she broke the news to him. They'd only been dating for a month, and he was freaking out. Moreover, Jamie didn't want his mother, Sharon Gardner, to know about the pregnancy. However, for some reason, Kira took it upon herself to break the news. She went behind Jamie's back and told Sharon about the baby.
A few days later, she ended up texting Jamie's mum on her own, saying that they were having a baby, and she was pregnant.
And she wasn't pleased. You see, Sharon wasn't exactly Kira's biggest fan. In fact, she barely knew her. With Jamie and Kira's relationship being only a month old, Sharon didn't have enough bonding time with Kira before the pregnancy situation.
And his mum wasn't happy because they'd only been getting to know each other.
But regardless of everything, Jamie and his mother had to set aside their reservations for the sake of Kira's condition. After all, Jamie was about to become a father. The courage in their decision really showcased how good these people were. For the sake of an unborn child, they were willing to accept Kira, whom they had only begun to know in over a month. But it turned out that Kira was not an appreciative soul, because what she did next would completely make you lose a fraction of respect for her. Kira told her friends a different story. She painted Jamie and his mother as evil people, claiming that they didn't help her through the pregnancy.
All through the pregnancy, she was saying that Jamie and his family are the worst people ever, they didn't help her through it, and painting them out to be really evil people.
She claimed that they were evil, and somehow she created a narrative around this to justify Jamie's absence from appointments. He was the bad guy who didn't want the baby, so he didn't want to be there. Sadly, they were just lies. Jamie had been there, but Kira made him sit out every appointment. Now, this was just one of the many cracks in Kira's case. That's because after the birth, which intentionally happened at midnight,
I was born at 2:46 a.m.
with no witnesses, things got weirder. The baby was always wrapped in blankets and wore mittens. Worst of all, the baby never made a sound. Picture that, a new infant that barely whined or let out a simple cry. And if anyone wanted to check why the baby wasn't crying, Kira would never let anyone touch Bonnie Lee, which was ironic because she always surrounded herself around people after the child's birth. For instance, after Bonnie Lee came into the world, Kira went to Jamie's house. There, she held the baby like a little secret. But at one point, Jamie's mom finally got close enough to the baby, and she immediately noticed something was wrong. The infant was stone cold. Her skin wasn't warm or tender like that of normal babies. Jamie's mom knew it wasn't real.
She takes the baby up to Jamie's house, and the mum says, "It's a doll, it's no moving, it's freezing cold."
Now, this was the first official exposure to Kira's grand plan. Jamie's mom, an actual mother who knew and understood what a baby should be and act like, saw through the little bundle of silicone Kira had brought home. So what would a sensible person do in this case? Well, for starters, no sensible person would ever try something this crazy in the first place. And even if they did, even if they let it get to such a dangerous point like Kira did, they would have to come clean at least. But Kira, well, she did the exact opposite. After Jamie's mom suspected that Bonnie Lee wasn't real, Kira quickly reached out to her closest friend Neve and sent her the most ridiculous text ever. Kira claimed that Jamie's mom had told her, "It's a doll. She's not moving or anything and she'll be freezing." Then the end note was basically Kira telling Neve that she would never let the granny hold the baby or touch the baby. 2 days after the baby was born, she texted me saying Jamie's mom had says to her, "It's a doll. She's not moving or anything and she'll be freezing. Again, never let the granny hold the baby or touch the baby." Through this text, Kira more or less implied that Jamie's mom wasn't giving her peace of mind. Remember how she painted the narrative that Jamie and his mom were bad people? This was exactly what Kira made Neve believe. Kira made it seem like Jamie's mom had been bullying her and had gone as far as insulting her baby, calling Bonnie Lee a doll. Surprisingly, the narrative she was painting was completely believable. But this was just a tiny glimpse of Kira's clever tactics. That's because in a bid to change Jamie's mother's perception of Bonnie Lee, Kira tried another bold move. Something that'll bury Jamie's mother's experience to the ground. Kira grabbed the baby and rushed to the hospital, claiming to get Bonnie Lee checked over. Then when she returned, she told everyone that the hospital had told her to keep the baby wrapped up because she had mucus. Neve addressed this part in her expose. So she grabbed the baby and went to Wishaw to get her checked over. She says the hospital just told her to keep the baby wrapped up and she had mucus. It was always mucus. This became Kira's go-to excuse for everything. Because of the mucus, the baby couldn't be touched and no one could get close to her, even if it's the father of the baby. Sure. At one point, Jamie had requested a DNA test. We can't say for sure what had sparked the curiosity, but it's possible his mother had cast a shadow of doubt in his mind. He wanted a DNA test to confirm whether the baby was his and whether it was real. But as expected, Kira refused and used the mucus excuse once again.
And she says to Jamie that the baby is fine with just to keep it wrapped up, and the baby has mucus. And she only says the baby has mucus because Jamie wanted a DNA test, and you can't take a DNA test if the baby's got mucus.
It's clear that Kira had done her assignment on the topic. She used the mucus card like a shield to ensure no one would get too close to the truth. In fact, Kira tried everything humanly possible to protect her secret. She even went as far as using AI to fake a moving Bonnie Lee on Facebook. But Jamie's mother wasn't buying it. Neither the mucus excuse or the deep fake video. She had raised children. She knew what a newborn looked like, felt like, and acted like. And this Bonnie Lee experience wasn't even close to it. Kira knew the new excuses weren't working. Jamie's mother could see through the mucus excuse, and she was not convinced that the child was real. So Kira went for another secret move. Specifically, 3 days after Bonnie's birth, she told Neve that she wanted to leave the house.
The third day, she texts me saying, Neve, I need to get out of this house. So I text her and I say, do you want me to come and pick you up since you've just had a baby? I'll drive. And she was like, aye.
Wise choice on Kira's part, because who would want to stay and get caught in a web of lies? The whole drama was so funny at this point. First, there was Kira, who thought it was a wise decision to stay over at Jamie's mom's place with a fake baby. Then there was poor Neve, who was eating out of the palm of Kira's hands because she trusted her friend and felt bad for the supposed mistreatment she was receiving. A lot of innocent people were involved in the drama, and they didn't have a single clue. So after leaving Jamie's mom's house, Neve and Kira headed to Morrison's, a local grocery store where Kira worked. There she showed them her baby, and everyone was happy to see little Bonnie Lee.
She asked me, can you take me to Morrison's? And I say, aye, of course I can. That's where she works, so she wanted to show everybody in her work.
Kira's colleagues also gifted money to the new arrival.
Saying, oh my god, she's so cute, she's tiny, congratulations.
They wished her well, and her manager told her to enjoy time off to bond with Bonnie Lee. And all these developments were carefully narrated on Neve's Facebook page. She said all her work and colleagues were giving her money for good luck. She asked her manager, can I come back to work, as a joke, and her manager says, Kira, just enjoy this time off and get bonding time with Bonnie Lee. It's worth noting that throughout this mini celebration, none of them were allowed to touch the baby. Bonnie Lee had been placed in a baby pram. She was fully covered with blankets with only her tiny face peeking out, and no one was allowed to touch her or take her out of the little carrier. Taking Kira to be an overprotective mom, and with the mucus excuse card still flying around, none of her colleagues thought to question it too deeply. But here's where things got a little more interesting. After Morrison's, Kira and Neve headed straight to Neve's home, where her mom was waiting to receive them. Once there, Neve's mother tried to see Bonnie Lee's feet, just out of pure motherly curiosity for this long-awaited baby. However, Kira reacted strongly to this sole gesture. Neve narrated, my mom moved a blanket just to see her legs, as everyone does, and Kira moved so quickly to put the cover back over her. Well, it's absolutely baffling that Kira continued to parade Bonnie Lee around while refusing to let anyone get close to her. To everyone around her, this was a real baby, for goodness sake, not some toy. Neve, Jamie, and Kira's family believed that Bonnie Lee was an actual human baby. They had every right to meet her, especially since Kira had spent months preparing for her arrival on her social media platforms. But little did they know that it was a complete lie. Kira was out of control at this point. She was proudly parading a doll and refusing human contact. And what made this case extremely bizarre right at this point was the fact that she had not even visited her family with this newborn baby. As they were being kept at arm's length, Kira's cousins had to call her to know why this was happening.
Cousin had phoned her and said, Kira, I'm not being funny, but why have you took the Wayne up to your pal's house if I don't even know your family's seen it?
In her response, Kira quickly deflected and claimed that the time wasn't right. However, in reality, Kira was just avoiding her family. To be specific, she was avoiding her mother and cousin because she knew she could not lie to them easily. They would not listen to her excuses. They would want to carry the baby by all means. Kira's web of lies was expanding, and it was sounding more like a Netflix documentary as the story kept progressing. When the story first broke, people thought it had to be fake. It sounded too intense, like something out of a dark Netflix documentary. The most bizarre story I think I've ever heard. This needs a Netflix series. This is wild behavior. This is wild. How she has managed to pull this off is beyond me. Kira Cousins left the world stunned with her elaborate deceit. It wasn't even a prank. She had faked a whole pregnancy. Pregnancy pranks are a bit trendy nowadays. They're done mostly for laughs, as most pranks are meant for.
So many people in this house. But I got her pregnant! Me!
But these trends are never intended to drag on for a whole day, not to mention months. And Kira Cousins carried out the longest and most unheard scam on this topic. $1 million questions flew around. How did the dad not notice it was a doll? How did she explain her fake bump to her boyfriend in bed at night? It circulated across social media platforms like TikTok, Facebook, and Reddit, racking up millions of views. These platforms became flooded with videos, posts, and comments discussing every aspect of Kira's deception. Neve posted 2 videos on TikTok after the situation blew up. She shared her own side of the story and provided everything related to Bonnie Lee that Kira had deleted from her social media accounts in a desperate attempt to cover her tracks. The public's reaction was a mixture of shock, disgust, and strange fascination. How could someone fake a whole pregnancy? As the outrage grew, so did the questions about her mental health. These kinds of concerns persisted throughout social media. Was Kira genuinely sick, or was she just an attention seeker? While we can't make any serious conclusions now, one thing we know for sure is that she is a chronic liar. Even one of her friends attested to this on a TikTok live stream. This lady claimed that Kira used to lie unprovoked since they were students.
She used to lie about breaking her leg and stuff in school. So she's always been a liar.
Considering Kira is someone with a knack for telling lies, a sham of this scale wouldn't be shocking. She lied to her friends about Jamie and his mother. She lied to her own family, friends, and colleagues from work. Kira even lied to her followers on social media, the ones who had been unfortunate enough to fall for her pregnancy documentaries. But guess what? These are only a fraction of the things Kira had lied about. She had deliberately orchestrated so much more that you would feel extremely sorry for the family and friends who fell victim to her schemes. Jamie, for one, had it worse than most. He totally fell for Kira's tricks, despite being the one person who should have known from the very beginning. Jamie posted the photo of him and Bonnie Lee on Snapchat. A big smile was planted on his face, as if he had not been skeptical about having this baby once upon a time. Jamie stepped up. He took responsibility. He took Bonnie Lee for walks in the pram while following Kira's strict instructions not to touch the baby.
And she made Jamie take the baby a walk up the kelpies and all that.
Jamie's actions hinted that he was willing to be involved in his daughter's life. Even when he requested a DNA test, he still stuck around instead of leaving due to his doubts. Then, after his perseverance throughout the 9 months of pregnancy, what did he get? Total heartbreak. It started with one shocking news from Kira about their daughter having a heart disease. During the course of the pregnancy, Kira had told Jamie that the sonographer had picked up something strange about the baby. In her Facebook post, Kira explained that this condition would remain with baby Bonnie Lee even in her adult life. Her post was detailed, almost clinical in its precision. However, what Jamie nor anyone else had realized at the time was that Kira was setting the stage for a sickness that would potentially put an end to this scam, so she could walk free. And Kira was completely prepared for it. She nailed the exact type of heart disease, a condition known as a balanced atrioventricular septal defect, AVSD, which was more or less a hole in an undeveloped heart. And it didn't end there. Kira shared diagrams of the disease. Perhaps it was to drive her point home or to sound remotely convincing, but she kept dwelling on the nature of the sickness in this new phase of her dark and dirty plan. And poor Jamie could only stand behind her as a silent supporter, unaware that the supposed mother of his child was playing a trick on him. Months later, he even believed he was a father, but the moment he carried his daughter once, he was not allowed further contact. Suspicions grew and he wanted a DNA test. But Kira blocked him with the whole mucus excuse, and when he persisted, she cooked up what she believed would be the final phase of her deception. Kira made Jamie take her and Bonnie Lee to the hospital for a checkup. As usual, Jamie remained outside while Kira went in to see the doctor. He waited only to be shell-shocked by a message from Kira. It started with her casually telling Jamie that something had happened to their daughter, and instead of going straight to the point, she pointed out that she had to explain the situation to him so he could understand. Then, without warning, she dropped the bombshell. Bonnie Lee is dead. But once again, here's where her main priority was: explanation. Just like the initial Facebook post where she dissected the meaning of her so-called daughter's heart disease, Kira was consumed by the urge to offer an explanation that would make this unbelievable lie sound true. Her messages continue with her begging for a chance to explain why their daughter had suddenly wound up dead, but Jamie was still consumed by the after effects of the devastating news. He said, "You've left me in the dark for long enough. I'm coming up. This isn't fair. Selfish." This was a man who up until this moment had believed he was a father to a child with a heart defect. While he might have remained silent throughout Kira's unreasonable actions, this one, the death of a child he'd barely seen or held onto, was the last straw. Sadly, Kira didn't sympathize with him. She straight up told him he wouldn't be able to meet her because he wasn't allowed into the examination room. It was the typical excuse that had been working for her for months now. So Jamie did what he could only do. He complained, calling Kira selfish and claiming how unfair she was to him. This isn't fair, selfish. This man was utterly defeated. He had experienced the death of his child and was forced into a roller coaster of grief and confusion. And as if that wasn't cruel enough, everything turned out to be one big fat lie. There was no baby and no pregnancy. Imagine that moment in Jamie's shoes. Scratch that, imagine it in anyone's shoes. Neve, for instance. This lady had been a supportive friend through and through. She was there for it all. The pregnancy updates, the excitement about the gender reveal.
So, this is Kira at her own gender reveal, and me looking like a fanny at a gender reveal.
She even sent Kira a video of herself crying when she felt guilty that her friend had gone through labor alone. But when the truth came out, Neve could not believe what she saw.
I don't know how to feel right now. Like, I feel so dumb because I was in Morrison's where I had the doll in my car, I had the doll in my house. Like, she was sitting in my house making bottles up and all that. Like,
the betrayal of trust went deep. Neve had invested her emotional support and excitement in a lie. She had been a listening ear to Kira and had taken her out of Jamie's house when Kira claimed Jamie's mother was mistreating her. Yet this was all that she got in return. Kira had affected her badly.
I just can't believe how much one person can affect somebody, and she has affected me like nobody else has ever affected.
And honestly, it wasn't only her. Kira's family had suffered this same form of betrayal, or even more. Her aunt in Wales sent her £500 when she couldn't make the baby shower.
Text messages for her auntie that lives in Wales saying I sent £500 up because I couldn't make the gender reveal.
Her grandparents brought a baby pram worth over $1,000.
And then the mum and gran bought the £1,000 pram. Then she sent me a video of the baby kicking.
This was a significant investment for what they thought was their great-grandchild. Most importantly, Kira's own family had not seen the baby after birth, which was strange given that they were supposedly a close-knit family. She avoided her relatives. Why? Because she knew they would be harder to fool, and she knew they would demand to hold the baby and examine her more closely. Her cousin, for one, was a social worker. Neve explained that this had been an issue for Kira because she knew her cousin would have known right away. Social workers are very fond of children, so if Kira's cousin had touched Bonnie Lee, she would have known. In fact, if Kira's family had been within an arm's length of the baby, they would have easily exposed Kira because there's no way they would have listened to her excuses and stayed away. At the end of the day, this proved to be true because they were the ones who eventually caught her. According to Neve's account, either Kira's mother or cousin came to the house and found Kira in the bathroom. She was on her phone, scrolling through social media and chatting away. And Bonnie Lee was there as well, but she wasn't in her mother's arms like they'd always been. No, Bonnie Lee was sitting on the floor. Bonnie Lee, who was just a few days old, was sitting on the floor. And that's when they knew that the baby was, in fact, a doll.
I don't know if it was her mum or cousin that walked in on her, and basically the doll was just left and she was on her phone. And everybody found out that it was a doll.
At that moment, the truth was as clear as day. This baby that had been the center of attention for days was, in fact, a silicone doll. You can only imagine the horror of that discovery. Kira had not given birth to Bonnie Lee. She practically had it delivered to her from the mail. Her baby was a reborn doll. These dolls are hyper-realistic silicone babies, and by hyper-realistic, they look like actual babies that can cost as high as $1,500 or more. These dolls are often designed to serve as therapeutic tools, used by individuals coping with infertility or infant loss. It's made for anyone who finds comfort in caring for dolls and babies. Sadly, in Kira's hands, this therapeutic tool had become a weapon of mass destruction. When her story exploded on social media, a vendor called Ivy Reborns stepped up and confessed that Kira had once made inquiries about these dolls. Everyone was in disbelief. Kira had been hatching this plan for a reborn doll back in June. She had plenty of time to either fake a miscarriage or come clean, but she intentionally sought out the most insane option in her elaborate scam, using a fake doll. It makes you wonder what her motives truly were. See, reborn dolls could easily pass for real babies. From one glance, they are very human-like. And if you get your hands on the advanced ones, you could have a doll that cries and imitates the sound of an actual baby. Kira, for one, purchased a doll that could be fed. In fact, Jamie once fed Bonnie Lee.
And this doll you could actually feed, and literally like in the same minute it would shit.
Moreover, Bonnie Lee was the kind of doll that could eat and poop it out. The same vendor Kira had contacted explained this mechanism in the comments. So some full silicones have a drink and wet system so you can actually feed them and it comes out the other end. Doesn't look like normal poo though. It's baffling how Kira had gotten away with this for days after supposedly giving birth. Her initial plan had been to end the whole scam with Bonnie's death. Still, this wouldn't have been an easy way out because everyone involved would have demanded to take one final look at the baby before laying her to rest. It makes you wonder, how did she think this was going to end? She had not played smart since the very beginning, and now that she was caught, nothing about Kira's following actions made sense. First of all, she quickly deleted everything related to Bonnie Lee on her Facebook and Snapchat. Months of documentation just disappeared in a flash.
I go on Snapchat to realise that all the pictures of Bonnie Lee and videos of Bonnie Lee have been deleted for our chats. So I text her and I'm like, Kira, what the why have you deleted all the pictures of Bonnie Lee?
Afterwards, Kira didn't respond to the messages. She never dared to dance to the tune she had set for herself. The jig was up and her whole pregnancy charade had ended. But unfortunately for her, the exposure of her dirty secret was only the beginning. When Kira's story made rounds on social media, a lot of people who knew her added to the discussions. And do you know who had the most grievances to share? Jamie's mother. In the heat of the online discussions, Sharon Gardner shared her 2 cents in a long rant. She expressed that she had not liked Kira from the start, especially since their first official meeting entailed a drunk Kira asking Sharon if she did drugs. I don't know about you, but that's a pretty rough first impression to leave on your soon-to-be mother-in-law. Sharon used a lot of colorful words to describe Kira. Anyone could tell that this case had really hit Jamie's family like a sledgehammer. And beyond them, other netizens were appalled by the situation. And in the course of the discussions, what everyone had to say truly confirmed how big a liar Kira truly was. Apparently, this wasn't the first time Kira had pulled this kind of sick stunt. If you thought you had seen enough of her scams, then buckle up, because you're in for more surprises. As the internet began to learn about Kira Cousins, an old friend revealed that Kira had done the same thing close to 3 years ago. The person who goes by the name Morgan Stewart shared her story in the comments on Facebook. She said Kira had pulled the same stunt with the fake baby bumps and pictures and had asked her family to be godparents. Here's a quick summary of the case. I went to uni with this girl and became best friends with her in 2023. She took a pregnancy test in my bathroom that was positive. She probably bought from a prank store. She told me she was going to be godparent to this child, Aurora Ray, but I never met her once. This story was curated for the baby Kira had named Aurora Ray. Morgan had provided proof, a screenshot from December 2023, where Kira proudly showcased this baby with a caption. Her face this morning is giving, "Mommy, you ain't going to work." This was unbelievable, and it became even more ridiculous when another commenter stepped up with an update on this particular Aurora Ray case. According to this commenter, who goes by the name Amy Lombardi, the baby in the photo wasn't a doll, but an actual picture of her own daughter. That baby from 2023 isn't a doll, it's a photo of my daughter from my Facebook that she's claimed as her own. From this unveiling, we can see that this wasn't a one-time mental health crisis or a grief-induced breakdown after a miscarriage. This was a pattern of behavior, something Kira had done before and decided to again, only this time she went bigger and more elaborate. This revelation shows a disturbing side of Kira's mental health. Yes, she clearly was dealing with some serious psychological issues. I mean, you don't fake pregnancies and fake babies without something being profoundly wrong. But Kira is someone who knew what she was doing. She deliberately hid to avoid getting caught. This act made it clear that she was aware of the rights and wrongs involved in the scam she had been orchestrating. However, if she had not learned her lesson the last time, things were about to change this time around. After wiping her social media completely clean, Kira posted an apology on Instagram. The post was shared on the 21st of October 2025, a day after the truth was revealed. It has since been deleted, but screenshots were captured and shared across social media. Kira wrote, "I wasn't pregnant, there was no baby. I made it up and kept it going way too far. I faked scans, messages, a whole birth story, and acted like a doll was a real baby. I know how bad it is f***ed up. I just didn't know how to stop once I started." In the same post, she apologized to Neve, Jamie, his family, and everyone else she had hurt in the process. There were also reports of posts from a TikTok account believed to be run by Kira, where she provided more details about the aftermath. The posts stated that Kira had not been in the toilet when her lies were discovered, but in her room when her mother walked in on her and found the doll. Honestly, if this were true, if she was really trying to clarify such a trivial point, then it meant that her main priorities in this case were crooked. Just like the heart disorder discourse and Bonnie Lee's fake death, Kira was actively trying to explain points that didn't matter. It was almost as if she wanted to justify something in her assertions. And more than that, she always wanted to minimize her own sins in the process. Like towards the end of this same post, Kira claimed that her family would not let her get away with what she had done. The strange admission reduced the impact of what should have been a remorseful update. Instead of hinting at self-reflection, Kira had placed emphasis on explaining how she was caught and how her family won't let her get away with it. The apology, such as it was, felt hollow to most people. There was no real acknowledgement of the emotional damage she had caused and no regards for Jamie and the other parties concerned. Well, she did add a disclaimer at the end. Can I just disclaim none of my family knew, nor did Jamie and his family, despite everyone having suspicions. Nothing came to light until the Tuesday morning day. But regardless of this endnote, the whole post itself felt off. It read more like someone caught in a lie and trying to manage the fallout than someone genuinely sorry for what they had done. And with Kira maintaining social media silence, there was no way the internet could get complete answers. So what happened after the grand apology? Well, Kira's case continued to garner more attention from more old acquaintances who knew more about Kira's sick ways. One by one, they dropped screenshots of the lies Kira had told, lies that were yet to be uncovered by her own close associates. One of them was this particular screenshot, bearing information that Kira's hole-in-the-heart diagnosis for Bonnie Lee had in fact been a story she adopted from a colleague's real-life challenge. The commenter shared a screenshot explaining that a colleague's son had been diagnosed with the illness and Kira ran with it. She literally stole someone else's real medical trauma and used it to add authenticity to her lie. And what's more, Kira had even been in touch with the man's wife for updates so she could perfect her story with Bonnie Lee. Can you imagine that? And to make matters worse, she posted and reposted images about heart awareness. While this would have stood out as a humanitarian move from hindsight, it takes on a different look now that her deception is out in the open. The post no longer looked genuine. In fact, it became particularly disgusting because Kira was purposely making light of a real case of congenital heart defects. She was studying it to use it as a tool for deception, when there are actually people in the world who wouldn't wish such a fate on their worst enemies. There was no solidarity, no empathy, just twisted motives that were aimed to serve nobody but herself. And unfortunately, the craziness didn't end here. Kira didn't project a devastating illness on a fake child only, she did it on herself as well. For some reason, Kira had told people that she had cancer. It's sick, but it's true. And from what we know about Kira's guts, we can tell that she wanted a bit of attention from it. From anyone who could give it, and who better than someone ravaged by the exact same sickness. Like this user, for instance. A cancer patient who had met Kira narrated her experience with the Scottish liar. I was diagnosed with breast cancer last year and Kira messaged me right away saying she was stage 4 ovarian cancer and understood what I was going through. Perhaps Kira wanted to be sympathetic, but this wasn't the normal way normal people displayed sympathy. She could have offered this person words of comfort or a helping hand when in need, instead of outrightly claiming to be consumed by devastating illness. It gets even more troubling when the confessions show that Kira had made a habit of doing these things. She didn't have to know whether people were sick before she attributed one form of diagnosis to herself. Like in this particular case, a colleague from Morrison's, Kira's workplace, claimed that Kira kept on telling her about her ovarian cyst. I used to work with Kira at Morrison's. She used to tell me she had cysts on her ovaries all the time. Then when she got pregnant, she tried to buy baby bows for my business that I started after my miscarriage last October. You know the thing about lies? You have to be consistent with them. There shouldn't be loopholes or room for doubt. And Kira, she failed in handling that aspect exceptionally. One minute she was claiming she had a serious ailment, and the next she was happily posting about pregnancies online. It's easy to see through these behaviors, and for the record, these old acquaintances did. That's why whatever affiliations they had remained in the past. But her poor family could only tolerate this attitude for as long as it lasted. Was it because it could be mental? Was Kira mentally stable? Well, the truth is that no normal person would do any of the things she's done. Kira faked pregnancies and fatal illnesses. She had a pattern of lies in her history and possessed no remorseful spirit. This is too much baggage for a sane human being. But there could be one valid exception. As pointed out by this Redditor, Kira may have something called Munchausen syndrome, or factitious disorder. According to Wikipedia, this is a complex mental disorder in which an individual imitates symptoms of illness in order to elicit attention, sympathy, or physical care. If we take this into account, we can have an understanding of Kira's attitude. For her, it wasn't about money or material gain, it was about emotional fulfillment. In the course of her pregnancy, she had spent money on her baby clothes and even a reborn doll. If she had done this for money, there was no way she would have let it drag on for this long. Kira simply loved the attention. She scammed people not for money, but for comfort. She wanted to be cared for, worried about, and admired. It's like she built an entire reality where she was the tragic heroine. In the stories she had created so far, Kira was a young mother who fought through pregnancy alone and lost her baby. She was also the woman who struggled with ovarian cysts and cancer. Kira used fake illnesses as an emotional currency, and people fell for it because they cared. Munchausen syndrome thrives on empathy and weaponizes kindness. These were the qualities Kira was lucky to have in the people who surrounded her, and she took advantage of it. So now that the internet was ready to understand her own side of the story, where is Kira? After her Instagram confessions went viral, Kira disappeared from the internet. Every trace of her Facebook where she was most active was wiped. She had claimed that her family had sat her down and made her face what she had done, but she also hinted that she would explain everything one day. That moment would have happened in a live stream with a TikToker named Tegan Nisbet. Tegan revealed screenshots of her chat with Kira on Snapchat about the case. These screenshots highlighted the same discourse about how she was caught in the act and how Jamie was the only one whom she had told about Bonnie Lee's death. Then, in one final screenshot, Kira had promised to join Tegan on her live stream to address the topic. Sadly, this never happened. Kira did appear once on a live stream, but it was only for a measly second before she left completely.
I am here. She's here. Kira, are you coming on here at 10? She's on. And I'll turn the camera.
The live stream lasted for more than an hour, but there was no sign of Kira. All that remains on the internet are parody accounts filled with AI-generated videos of Kira, and creators making a mockery of Kira and her sick scheme.
Sorry, body lane.
Kira Cousins has now become an internet meme, and although everyone still itches for her own side of the story, the funny clips indicate that netizens can amuse themselves while waiting. In the end, what's left of Kira's story isn't just a simple moral lesson about one woman's deception. It's a reflection of how far people would go to be seen and the consequences of such an unhealthy desire. Kira's obsession with being seen and being pitied cost her family and friends a great deal of emotional investment. She bought a real-life-like doll, built a fantasy family, and lived inside a lie for nearly a year. In the message she sent to Tegan, she had expressed that she truly wanted the baby when Jamie got over his initial reluctance. To be honest, there is no explanation of why I carried it on. When you lose a baby, it's hard. My mind went utterly mental. There were so many things I didn't know like I wanted that child so much, and once Jamie got over the initial shock, he did. Kira's actions were extreme. She made it all about herself and roped people who were genuinely concerned for her into such an unsettling situation. It's unclear when her next big appearance on the internet will be. For all we know, she might not even return now that the world has seen through her nasty ways. On a clear note, one can only hope that this pregnancy charade won't repeat itself. While it might be funny for a short while, it could also open wounds no one knew existed, just like Kira Cousins had done so brilliantly.